Hi everyone, thank you for joining us for this session, which is just one session in today's Integrated Marketing Virtual Conference for Nonprofits, brought to you by the Integrated Marketing Advisory Board. Before we get started, we want to take a moment to thank our conference sponsor, Give Together, for helping us bring this conference to you at no charge. We also want to thank our media sponsor, the Nonprofit Times, for helping us get the word out about this unique conference and for providing feedback on our conference session content. And we'd also like to thank today's session sponsor, CDR Fundraising Group, for sponsoring this session. During the session, please feel free to submit your questions in the chat box, in the question box, in your GoToWebinar window, and the session speaker will be answering your questions toward the end of the session. So with that, I'm going to just turn it over to you, Terry and Jennifer.
Good morning. This morning's session is Integrated Marketing and the Donor Life Cycle, balancing short-term and long-term engagement for greater lifetime value. My name is Terry Burton. I'm the AVP for Membership and Annual Fund at the National World War II Museum.
And I'm Jennifer Sachs. I'm the Interactive Marketing Manager. As you mentioned before, you can ask questions at any time and we'll be answering them towards the end.
So today we're going to take you through our process from the origin of our program to the most recent integrated campaign. We'll discuss the beginning of our program, building and reaching our audience, insight into how we coordinate our communication across departments and programs, and we'll share results from our efforts. So first, let me tell you a little bit about who we are. One of the first questions we always get is, why is the National World War II Museum in New Orleans? Well, our founder was noted historian Stephen Ambrose, who happens to be the official biographer for Dwight Eisenhower. And during their sessions together, Eisenhower often mentioned that Andrew Higgins and his landing craft were key to winning World War II. And those landing crafts were used in every amphibious invasion during the war, and Higgins Industries happened to be based in New Orleans. And when we opened, we were originally called the National D-Day Museum, and our original focus was D-Days from the European as well as the Pacific theaters. A few years after we opened, we received congressional designation as America's World War II Museum, and from there we changed our name in 2006, and since then we've been trying to raise $325 million to expand our campus to take on the full story of America's experience in World War II. We have an extensive collection. We have over 7,000 oral histories and 100,000 artifacts. And the campus, since we started our expansion, has grown significantly to 5 venues with another pavilion opening later this fall. We attract an average of 300,000 visitors per year, and we are a TripAdvisor Traveler's Choice, ranking number 7 among museums in the United States and number 14 in the world. So let's talk a little bit about our direct mail program. Around the time that we were making significant moves on the expansion front, we developed our direct mail program, which was around 2003. The target audience was made up of individuals who were closest to our subject matter. That would be individuals who served during World War II and those who were alive during that era. So picture would look like someone 75 years or older, conservative, a largely male audience, and this actually is still the majority of our file makeup to this day. To find them, we do 3 acquisition mailings per year. We average about 1 million pieces per mailing. We rent and exchange lists with other organizations, and we use models significantly to help build our file. And once acquired, these names go into our house file, and we mail them every month. We average about 130,000 pieces a month. And the quantities may vary, but the basic strategy of our program through acquisition and house file has not changed very much since the origin of the program. So immediately there were 2 additional benefits that we saw from our direct mail program once we got started. One was the Patriot Circle program, which we were getting quite a few gifts of $1,000 or more through direct mail, and probably we were getting about 115 coming straight in through direct mail. So we started this additional program. These were not special packages designed to attract high-dollar donors. They just happened to appreciate the mission, and they came in that way. The second is the building of the file helped us built our initial online audience. Today, the program makes up 23% of the museum's operating budget, generating about $8 million in operating revenue. And direct mail is also our largest targeted national outreach and marketing for the museum. So this slide shows you the growth during our initial period with direct mail. In the first 5 years of the program, we grew from just over $3 million in revenue to over $5 million by year 5. And the number of donors grew from 50,000 to about 80,000.
As Sarah mentioned, when we decided to expand to the online world, we were lucky enough to be able to start out our list from member emails that we had from our direct mail file. We started out with about 25,000 emails in 2008, and 96% of them were from members. We started just a monthly dispatch with all the news from the museum, a monthly Calling All Teachers, which was a newsletter featuring lesson plans and student-specific events or webinars, and also dedicated emails for larger events such as Mason Lectures, which is a distinguished lecture program that we do, or other public programming.
So as we were building direct mail and then started messaging through email, we realized that we've created parallel programs. Our direct mail program was stable, we had a better website, more robust constituent management, but we had not taken advantage of the opportunity to merge the two. Because both channels were working so well in achieving their respective goals, there was no real institutional push for us to make an effort to merge. But we had to make a change. There was huge opportunity there, and we decided to do a test with one of our renewal mailings. So what we did was took a look at our $25 segment. It was the largest segment that we had with donors who had email addresses, and we split the names with email addresses in half. Half got just the package, half got the package as well as an email. And you can see from the results here that we earned 81 cents more per letter mailed, and the average gift for those with email was $1.14 higher than those who only received the letter. So translation, what does that mean for us? That means that we earned $2,000 more net revenue from the emails group than we did from those without email. It was, from our perspective, a successful test. And it got us a lot of attention. It allowed us to create the kind of buzz that we needed to encourage integration of the channels and to get more institutional buy-in to test this out further. By 2010, we were able to bring on a dedicated staffer specifically for email communication. And since the test started in membership, we were at the forefront, so we were able to have that position in the membership department. So from the start, there was always an understanding of the fundraising revenue opportunity with this new position and with integrating the channels. And the direct mail schedule was a huge help in helping us build the calendar and getting us to move forward.
So as part of my job, I manage the e-communications calendar. When I start putting it together, I try to do the whole fiscal year. Our direct mail calendar is pretty planned out for the whole year, so it's easy to use that as the jumping off point. We look at when direct mail messages are going out, when they'll land in mailboxes, what they say. Each message is different. Sometimes we have messages that are timed to deploy before members even ever receive the direct mail piece, sometimes after to help remind people to give. Sometimes we'll send a message knowing that it's highly unlikely that people will give online, but our strategy there is to hope that the message will act as a follow-up to spur their offline donation. It's easy to fall into the trap of treating every message the same, but it's important to make sure that you're coordinating your multi-channel approach to each message individually. Since our museum has grown, our email program has grown even more, which means that there are a lot of emails to be sent and a limited number of slots. We have a biweekly interactive work team meeting with representatives from each department to help prioritize our strategic goals. We'll review the calendar to make sure all programs are getting covered and fight it out if we need to. We also look for opportunities to enhance our members' experience using online communications, either by offering them early access to popular programs or discounts to other programs. So as we're building the calendar for the fiscal year, in addition to the direct mail date, we add in World War II anniversaries, public programming, special events, basically anything that we can think of. Obviously, this changes as we move through the year. You know, a lot of stuff is up in the air. And it's important to remember to be flexible. But if you know what's coming, it helps immensely to be able to plan in advance. It also helps to coordinate communication with other channels, such as social media. So I have a weekly meeting with our social media coordinator to talk about how we can coordinate our platforms. This is especially important with larger initiatives for us. That would be like D-Day or Veterans Day. And as you can see here, examples of posts from Facebook for our last Veterans Day. As I'm sure you can tell from the last few slides, we send a lot of emails, and audience segmentation is a great tool to avoid exhausting your full list and also targeting the right people with your message. Our users are able to opt in and out of a variety of segments, public programming, fundraising, end of year, travel, etc. This also helps with our retention rate since users are able to avoid messages that they don't want to see. And here is a sample of the full calendar, just a few weeks, obviously, of the full calendar. We try our best to keep it to 1 email a day max, but clearly we fail. That being said, we make sure that the user is only getting 1 email a day. I have no problem sending multiple emails out on a single day, as long as the audience is segmented for each.
Okay, so we're going to take you through our messaging strategy and results that demonstrate what's worked for us and how it's benefited the museum. So we'll show you examples for low dollar, which would be contributions of $5 to $999, the high dollar program, which is $1,000 to $10,000, and also just general advocacy. Messaging simply encouraging action or engagement, but not necessarily tied directly to a fundraising campaign. Okay. So when individuals join through direct mail, there is a 4-step process designed to secure a second gift within their first 30 days on file. So as soon as the record is added to the direct mail database, we've created business rules that allow the name to be part of a nightly email address export, so the name can be added to our online database, and that messaging can begin immediately. The first formal email solicitation is timed with their first generic house file mailing that they receive.
On the online side, it's a similar track. The person will join our email list through the museum website. They began a 3-email welcome series, 3-message email welcome series. Their name gets entered into the direct mail database, and they start receiving the 4-step mail welcome series. Email communication begins after completion of the email welcome series, and their first email solicitation is timed with first house file mailing.
Okay, so let's go into a little bit more detail about the welcome series. So the tangible gifts go out immediately with a letter from the president. The welcome letter, there's a welcome letter that goes out next under my signature. And the hook that we have in our direct mail acquisition program is the honor roll of charter members that allows donors to honor loved ones who served during World War II, both on the home front and in battle. And the third step gets back to that initial ask, which increases the likelihood of the second gift because it reminds them why they joined. The fourth step is a survey which accomplishes several goals for us. It gives us information about the donor to help personalize future messages, and we learn about their interest and connection to World War II to help target messaging about the other programs, and it gets them in the habit of responding to us.
Our True Message email welcome series is designed to ensure that our constituents are familiar with our mission and different things we're doing in pursuit of our mission. Our welcome series has an open rate of 30.41%, a click-through rate of 2.32%, and a 1.1% opt-out rate. The first email, which deploys 1 to 7 days after a person is signed up online, outlines the mission and what makes us different. It also lets them know that they'll be receiving 2 more emails so that they're not like, oh, these people are spamming us. 3 days later, they receive a second email detailing our educational initiatives, including Operation Footlocker, Red Wall Express, just all the educational public programming we have going on. The last email, which they get 3 days after that, focuses on our expansion. Each contains a How You Can Help section, which details how a contribution would help that specific initiative, as well as take action buttons, such as become a member, plan a visit, give another donation.
So the 2 paths are a clear demonstration for us of how consistent messaging and reinforcing mission can benefit an organization, particularly in the beginning of the relationship with the donor. We modified our thank you program to this structure in fiscal year 2012, and it's definitely made an impact on the thank you program revenue. Last fiscal year, we had 9% growth in the percentage of new donors making a gift during their welcome series period. The number of donors has increased, and the revenue has grown by $25,000 over the past 3 years. And additionally, response rates with email continue to reinforce the lessons learned from our initial tests. Through dual channel messaging, we see that generally those with email are more responsive in the mail, and they have a 3% higher renewal rate. And this is specifically in relation to our file and what our donors have responded to. The long-term impact of our integration is probably most reflected in our multi-year donor numbers. Since 2008, we've steadily grown in both number of donors and revenue from this sector. Of the $5.2 million raised in fiscal year 2012, half came from multi-year donors. Beyond the donations linked to direct mail, these members are also engaged in other ways. Their messaging includes multiple initiatives like our BRIC program, as well as online-only campaigns like Giving Tuesday.
Last year, we sent over 13.6 million emails. From those, we had a 12.5% open rate, a 0.8% click-through rate, and a 0.09% opt-out rate. We earned just under $40,000 in online-only fundraising. 30,443 of that came from our members. We have a really nice engagement rate on email. I think that's because when we make sure to build our list organically from members and online email signups. We don't rent or buy lists.
We've gotten your messages that we're a little low. We're going to try to speak louder. Just let us know if it doesn't get any better for you. Okay, there are similar steps in place for the high dollar program. And again, these are the individuals who give $1,000 to $10,000. The majority of them, as I mentioned earlier, are secured through direct mail. And as soon as we get the gift, they receive a thank you call from Patriot Circle staff, a personalized letter from the museum president. These names are also added to the online database, and benefit fulfillment takes place in 6 to 10 steps, depending on their level. And we've increased the number of non-renewal solicitations from 2 per year to 7. So on the left, you see the detailed welcome series, and on the right is a breakdown of the renewal process. In 2006, this was a 3-step process: a 60-day mailing, a 30-day phone call, and a 30-day expired mailing. Over the past 3 years, we've evolved the renewal program to the schedule you see here, which incorporates multiple communication types with personalization to allow these members to feel special. And here's how these changes translate into revenue. In 2010, we added the 90-day renewal and started using email. In 2013, we started using phone, call, letter, and email combined, and it was our biggest fundraising year to date. As we drill down further, you can see renewal revenue has grown an average of $150,000 each year, and the majority of that income is derived from the 90-day notice. The increase in additional appeals has made a difference as well. Through the midpoint of FY14, our current fiscal year, we've sent 5 non-renewal appeals with revenue just over $91,000. So now we'll transition into advocacy.
We launched Thank You for My Freedom in 2011 as our Veterans Day initiative. Our goal was to provide people with an easy way to thank veterans, and we're working towards getting 1 million thank yous. These are screenshots from our microsite where you can see our video that we put together, plus the 3 buttons that provide either or provide users the ability to either upload a written message, a picture, or video thanking veterans. We also have a section, as you can see, linking to our memorial bricks so that people have the option of adding a permanent thank you to our campus. Here you can see the multi-channel approach for 2013. We sent 4 emails to a total of 367,650 recipients, received over 40,000 opens, almost 3,000 clicks, and only 273 unsubscribes. On the social side, we had 11 Facebook posts, totaling a reach of 169,302. That provided us with 288,537 impressions and over 22,000 people talking about us. In the Twitter sphere, as they say, we had 9 tweets to 34,286 museum followers, and we actually got retweeted by NBC's Sunday Night Football to their over 200,000 followers. In person, we had, we have screens at the museum as well as signage in the week leading up to Veterans Day, and we were also featured on screen during the Saints game on the closest Sunday to Veterans Day. Also on the online side, for SEO purposes, we featured heavily on our homepage to link back to the microsite. We also had an SEM AdWords campaign running. Here you can see the playlist that we created on YouTube of all of our video submissions. The main video is on top, and then you can see that we also had some brand ambassadors, such as Saints quarterback Drew Brees, filmmaker Ken Burns, Chef John Besh, and author Robert Etzel. This is a shot from the Saints game that was on the Sunday before Veterans Day. It was a very happy accident that the Veterans Day game was a home game, and it happened to feature our in-house performers, the Victory Bell, singing the national anthem. This allowed us to get exposure to a very large crowd, which would not have, been available to us. We're now up to over 400,000 thank yous, and we plan to continue until we get to 1 million.
So the strongest integrated campaign we've ever done happened this fiscal year. Actually, it was near the end of calendar year 2013. It started in July and culminated in December, and it was all centered around Veterans Day. Our direct mail agency approached us with the idea of doing what they call the banner cloth mailing. So members would get these little pieces of cloth that they could write a special message on in honor of someone in their family who served, or to anyone currently who served recently, just saying thank you. And the pieces of cloth will be assembled into one large banner. And for me, the concept was an opportunity for us to do even more multi-channel engagement and tie in with the Thank You for My Freedom campaign that we already had going on online, opportunities inside as well, and then this seems like an appeal that could absolutely work with our high dollar program.
We featured the banner cloth as part of all of our social media for Veterans Day. You can see here the Facebook. We also took close-up pictures of squares to use it to sort of spur our thank you for My Freedom campaign. We also collected email addresses from the Oshkosh Air Show. These people received a special welcome series once added to our list, and also a follow-up email following Veterans Day that featured pictures of the banner. There's some of our veteran volunteers in front of the banner. We mailed 126,000 pieces and received 4,000 pieces of cloth. We also added 166 new emails to our list. In addition to the cloth, we received 4,737 gifts for a total of $154,989.
And at the end of the campaign, we sent a thank you with an image of the banner to everyone that participated. And the banner cloth project for us was a key game changer. It told us that if we take a look at our projects that we have in relation to everything that's going on, if we take a step back and think about what we're doing and how we're doing it, it's an opportunity to change how you communicate and to see that there is absolute benefit in merging projects and working together to create a more seamless experience for your members and donors and have both long and short-term benefits. When you understand your goals from each area from the outset, you can definitely make this kind of strategy work within your organization. And one of the things we hear all the time is that high dollar donors don't want to receive tons of solicitation. Well, we've increased our solicitations. We have incorporated more strategy and outreach with them, and it's paying off in terms of the revenue that we're getting from these donors. They're highly engaged with the museum, and we do have a number of them actually increasing their support. So these are key takeaways from the things that we've been doing over the last couple of years, and in particular through the half point of this fiscal year, we've definitely reaped significant benefits from the things that we've incorporated up to this point.
So no one has figured out a way how to monetize social media. You change focus to build awareness for your institution that can have a benefit in other areas. The bottom line is you can't rely on social media as a source of income. Even with social-focused initiatives such as Giving Tuesday, we found that really, money from social media is more gravy than sort of the meat of the meal. Social media is an excellent brand awareness tool, plus a large social media following can be pointed to in other fundraising efforts such as securing grants. The last point, it's not quantity, it's quality. If messaging goes back to mission and the original case for support, they will remain engaged. We send a lot of email, a lot. That goes against every best practice I've ever been taught. But we have a lot going on, and we make sure to send only emails that are relevant to our mission and our organization. Every audience is different, so test and test and test and test some more, and learn what works best for your audience.
Yeah, that's it for our formal presentation. So we can get into the questions now. Did the emails, the first one we have here is, did the emails go out before or after DM?
I think that depends on the message. Like I said, each message is different. We, last year, actually did a test where we added a pre-early renewal email that we received, or that users received before they actually received their direct mail renewal information. And we got huge gains. It was our biggest email and pretty much doubled our online revenue in direct mail.
And on a typical house file, like one of the more generic messages, we might deploy the email maybe 2 weeks after the actual mail date that we have on the production calendar. It really just depends on what the message of the house file package is and how we're linking that into that original message and what the action beyond donation might be in that message. Okay, so next question we have is, for the Patriot Circle, do you keep them in your house file mailings to renew, or do you do anything special with them? We actually have a different renewal schedule for Patriot Circle than we do for the standard house file. Our charter memberships, which are the low dollar memberships, are calendar based, so everyone expires at the same time, at the end of the calendar year. For Patriot Circle, that is anniversary based, so essentially every month we're sending out renewal notices. When we combine them with a house file mailing, we will just pull our names, because they're kept in a different database. We'll just pull those names and just include them in the house file, but we'll modify the messaging where we can to make it a bit more personal than it is for the charter members. What constituent management software programs would you recommend?
We use Convio, but I'm not sure if I would recommend it. But it's good for some things, and it's confusing and frustrating for other things. That's really the only one that I've ever used. I know, have you guys used other ones?
Online, we haven't really done anything else. I think probably the biggest thing with Convio is the fact that we like to modify and customize quite a bit, and it doesn't really allow for that. It's very basic in terms of what you can do and how you can vary your data, and the special things you can try with your messaging.
Yeah, and also to extract data sometimes you have to sort of think about it like a Rubik's Cube. But eventually you figure it out.
Okay, so next question. What does this direct mail program have to do with the topic integrated marketing and donor life cycle? For us, direct mail is a component of integrated marketing. We try to incorporate multiple channels for our outreach with our members and donors. And the things that have worked for us have been obviously the direct mail program, our email system and online component, as well as the personal contact. And that personal contact comes into play significantly on the Patriot Circle side, and gradually trying to integrate a little bit more of that on the direct mail side for the higher dollar donors, like those who are $100 or more within that program. Allowing your donors to feel special makes a big difference. So let's see. What does this direct mail program, oh, got that one already. Okay, will we receive slides? I believe all the slides will be available for download once the conference is over. Okay. How do you collect emails through the mail program? If you just have a space to write it, do you really get 90% of responders to share? 96% of responders to share. So on the direct mail side, it is independent. People do write in their email addresses, and we then automatically upload them into the system. We know we don't have email addresses for every single name on our file, but the addresses that we do have are very active and engaged with the program. And so for us, that's the most significant thing. We try to do things in our packages that will drive people to our website. For example, with the banner cloth message that we did, there was the usual entry for them to write in their email address, but we also mentioned that a full image of the banner cloth would be available on our website to drive them there. That would encourage them to register on the site, and then we could, another opportunity for us to collect an email address in a different way. Do you fear your audience tuning out with the amount of emails that are sent out, even with your targeted approach?
That is definitely a fear. We closely monitor, engagement rates with every single email that goes out. About a week after, I look at it directly after as well, but about a week after, I actually take the time to do a separate report for each email that compares it to previous emails that have gone out for the same topic, and also, this time last year, if there was a similar email that went out. I think it definitely is a fear, and like I said, every best practice that I've ever read or been taught says, limit your communications, but our audience is different, and I think that we definitely have the stats to prove it.
Okay, next question. Was the A/B email testing you did in coordination with direct mail and A/B split with all donors who had email addresses, or was it a test between donors with email addresses versus donors without email addresses? The test was specifically for donors with email addresses. And the $25 segment was the largest segment that had donors with email addresses. So we just took those and split them in half just to see what the difference would be. So we wanted this so that we would have an apples-to-apples comparison in performance. How long does it take for the entire welcome series? Can you answer the email side?
Yeah, online it's a week.
It's about 20 days for the direct mail welcome series, because there are 3 days between the two steps and then 14 days for the third step, and I think another actually a little bit longer. We get to about 30 on the fourth step, but that's after that first formal solicitation. So because it's timed in that way, because we really want that first package to get out within that first 30 days so we can get that second contribution from them as soon as possible. Can you remind me of the metrics on the banner cloth campaign? People reach, dollars raised.
I think that's going to be on the slide.
Yeah. Let's see if we can go back to that slide.
Well, they'll get the slides, aren't they? Okay.
Okay. So on the banner cloth, we mailed 126,000 pieces, and we received over 4,000 pieces of cloth. I think that's everything. Dollars raised, and we raised just over $154,000 on that package, and we mailed it in July 2013. How many email segments do you have? Can people belong to multiple groups? What is the minimum size for a segment?
We have a ton of email segments. I mean, at least 10, but I'm probably more like 15 to 20. People can belong to multiple segments. They can choose which segment they belong to. Some people don't choose to segment and choose to just join on our full list. We don't really have a minimum size of segments. I mean, ideally, we would get at least 1,000 people in there to really, mean anything. But we don't restrict size in terms of segments.
Okay, next question. How were the other thank you messages shared? Written, photos, video, on your website or social media?
On both. Mostly social media. The first year we did it, we literally posted every single message that we received, but we realized that that was sort of overwhelming our audience, and that it was the act of saying thank you, not necessarily seeing it on social media, that really meant something to our audience. So in the following years we've been more selective, but we do share them on social media, and they are featured on our website,
okay,
on our microsite.
Next. Kudos on Santa Claus campaign. Sounds like an awesome donor involvement. Could you give us an idea how much this costs to implement? Honestly, right now, I don't remember exact package cost, but I want to say it might have been about 42 cents per letter mailed, maybe a little bit less than that. It was not an incredibly expensive package. Okay, what is the average age of your donors? Just a ballpark. Do you think it has an impact on your email success? It's very likely that it does have an impact on email. The average age on our file is about 78 years old, and what we have learned is our donors read email and they visit our website, but they don't necessarily transact via email. So we will notice a lift in the performance of those email segments but they're responding to the paper package. They're not actually giving online, clicking through and making the donation there. We do collect more email addresses from those who visited the museum, and our demographic there is a little bit lower. It might be average age about 55, 60 based on our visitation. So those who join online, who join on site help us a little bit, but our most significant number is going to come in through direct mail, and those are definitely older constituents. Okay, let's see. Do you have a legacy plan giving program? How does it integrate with your message and channels? We don't really have a ton going on online with the plan giving program, but we do have messaging in the direct mail program for plan giving. But it's honestly a little passive. We have checkboxes and reply forms for about half of our mailings that ask if they would like information on plan giving. We actually do get a lot of leads from that, and we pass those on to the major gift officers, but that's our primary integration there. We've done a few plan giving surveys in the mail, and we've had significant success and response from that as well.
Yeah, I think it's featured on the website, but I don't think that we've ever sent out.
Yeah, it's more passive than an aggressive approach, but we've done some staff shifting, so I think that's going to change in the coming year. For a non-membership organization, what best practices would you advise to integrate messaging, integration between direct mail and email? Honestly, for me, whether it's member or not, the individuals join because of an affinity for the mission. So if you look at what messaging you're sending out via your largest channel, and that's the way we handled it. We looked at our largest channel first, which was direct mail. And everything sort of became an outgrowth from that because there was so much that was already established with that channel. And we just looked at opportunities to combine messaging there. If you look at the Welcome series, we have things that, for new donors to the file, we have things that get directly to the financial contribution going out through the mail, but then their Welcome series online is reinforcing the mission message and online engagement so that we're trying to get them through both channels. And if they join online and they get that online messaging, chances are they're going to stay part of that online audience, and then direct mail becomes their backup. If they join through direct mail and they're getting the online, then online becomes their backup. So that's kind of the way we look at it. But the key in all of the messaging really is getting back to the mission of the organization and the initial message that you sent out to get them to become connected with your institution in the first place. What kinds of direct mail materials do you send donors? Are they premium items such as greeting cards, notepads? In direct mail, we have very specific gifts based on level. We have a hat, a dog tag, a replica victory pin from World War II, and a World War II medallion. And during the course of the year in the house file, we'll do things like holiday cards, calendars. We have tried notepads, decals, but we don't do a lot of tchotchke mailing. A lot of our packages really are centered on a specific message, talking about one of our campaigns, talking about one of our pavilions, getting back to the fact that we're trying to expand the museum and we want to complete that while we still have World War II veterans with us. What is your planned giving response rate? How much have you raised to date? Honestly, I don't know our planned giving response rate. So I can't really answer that. Sorry. Yeah, it looks like we've gotten through all the questions. Okay, one more. How many staff do you have engaged in marketing, communications, fundraising, or other engagement staff?
Oh, how would you define an engagement staff?
So, well, I would say for membership, we have a total of 7 people specifically dedicated to the solicitation and the fulfillment side of things. And then on the marketing side and the interactive department, you have about 6. Yeah. About 6 total, but that incorporates what we need for a website build out and things like that. But in terms of email communication, it really is one person.
Yeah, just me.
And our house file packages and acquisition and things like that, we do work with an agency on that to help us develop creative and do production work on that. So it looks like that is it for our session. Oh, there's one more question. Have you evaluated your return on investment on this? Some of your revenue increase seems to be in the 50K range, but the personnel time alone for this amount of work must be many times that. We don't really look at how much we spend on work versus how much we're actually producing. We just kind of chug away. We just get together and do what needs to be done. It's really not, it seems like a lot, but really most of the time is just taking the time to get together and talk about it and talk it through. And once you have that conversation, then everything else just kind of falls into place. And I think people sort of associate this level of integration with a lot of extra work, and it really isn't. You know you're going to do a house file package anyway. It's happening already. If you pick up the phone or have a meeting and talk to the person managing your interactive, then you can work out within 30 minutes probably a message and a target audience to get that message out. And just within that conversation, you've got it planned out. Once the package is written, you know the theme, you know the focus, you know what the hook is, and you can get it out and deployed, and boom, you have an integrated program right there. That's really what it boiled down to for us, just taking the time to have the conversation.
Great. Well, we've reached the end of our time for this session. Thanks so much for joining us, everyone. Great questions and a great session indeed. Please note that if you're going to be joining us for the next session, you'll need to log out of this webinar and log back in with your next participation code. If you didn't register for another session and you'd like to, please join us at imab.net/virtual conference. You can register for any session that you like. They're happening all throughout the day.